Yo, what's up? Welcome to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the TWID that came out Thursday. Now I just cut this down a little bit, but it's so kind of long. Now I got some of the important bits that you might want to look at, or see or know, whatever. It's going to be the exotic changes, weapon changes, artifact mods and stuff. I'm not going to keep you here forever, so let's actually get into it.
This week in Destiny, October 3rd, 2024. October 3rd, 2024 Destiny 2 team. This week in Destiny, we have a lot to share. It's all about our next episode, Revenant, which is launching in less than a week on October 8th. We can't wait to see you all ripping and tearing the scorn as Slayer Barons, playing new activities, using new gear, and testing your builds. So, how about you check what's in the oven for today? Did you watch our Tuesday stream? New episode means new artifact. A sneak peek of exotic armor changes, weapons tuning, and new weapon mods. A preview of the new weapon rewards, as well as the new Iron Banner armor and weapons, fixing some legendary ornaments. We also have a newly reprised strike coming, our first Discord quest. Hurricane Helene support. Onwards. Anti-barrier scout rifles, you are wielding fire shield piercing rounds and stun barrier champions. Additionally, scout rifles are always overcharged when that modifier is active. One with frost. While frost armor is active, stasis weapons gain increased reload speed and stability. Stasis swords gain increased guard resistance. When Cho rapid stasis weapon precision hits grant you a stack of frost armor. Rapid precision hits from weapons with the Dark Ether Reaper origin trait grant you more stacks of frost armor. Boost. Dealing stasis weapon damage to slowed targets has a chance to spawn a stasis shard. Armor of Aramis. While frost armor is active, taking critical damage from combatants causes you to emit a freezing burst. Boost. Increase radius and strength of this freezing burst. Brain freeze. Frozen combatants become surrounded by chilling fog, which slows combatants that aren't already. Weapons with the Dark Ether Reaper origin trait deal more damage to frozen combatants. Overload submachine gun. Landing consecutive hits with any submachine gun you are wielding disrupts combatants, stunning them, delaying ability energy regeneration and lowering combatant damage output. Strong against overload champions. Additionally, submachine guns are always overcharged when that modifier is active. Killing Breeze rapid weapon final blows grant you a bonus to mobility. Weapon final blows with the Dark Ether Reaper origin trait count as more than one. Crystalline Converter. Gather stasis shards to gain stacks of Crystalline Converter. Your next powered stasis melee hit creates stasis crystals equal to the number of stacks you have. Boost. Stasis weapon final blows after activating your class ability spawn a stasis shard. Crystallized autoloader. Shattering stasis crystals releases shards of ice that damage and slow targets. Boost. Shattering frozen targets and stasis crystals deals increased damage. Supernova. Picking up a void breach causes your next source of void damage to create a large weakening pulse. Unstoppable pulse rifle. Aiming down the sights of a pulse rifle for a short time loads a powerful explosive payload that stuns unshielded combatants. Strong against unstoppable champions. Additionally, pulse rifles are always overcharged when that modifier is active. Enhanced Ether Generator. Dark Ether Reaper origin trait has a chance to spawn an extra Dark Ether charge. Weapons with the Dark Ether Reaper origin trait are overcharged when that modifier is active. Total Carnage. After finishing a powerful combatant, gain temporary damage resistance. While you have 2 or more Shadestalker armor pieces equipped, after finishing a powerful combatant, gain increased temporary damage resistance and replenish health. Debilitating Wave finishers emit a damaging wave that matches the element of your currently equipped super. Boost. While you have an Arc, Void or Stasis super equipped, the blast also applies blind, weaken, and slow, respectively. Conductive Cosmic Crystal. Your Arc abilities, Void abilities, and weapons with the Dark Ether Reaper origin trait do bonus damage to targets that are affected by a stasis debuff. Boost. Increase bonus damage to combatants affected by a stasis debuff. Anti-barrier shotguns. You are wielding fire shield piercing rounds and stun barrier champions. Additionally, shotguns are always overcharged when that modifier is active. Fell the Revenant. Deal increased weapon damage to Scorn. Wearing Shadestalker armor increases the bonus damage. Power from Pain rapid final blows against weakened combatants grants you Devour. Boost. Rapidly defeating weakened combatants spawns a Void Breach. Concussive reload using a grenade launcher to damage a boss, damage a champion, or break a combatant's shield weakens them. Boost. Using grenade launchers to damage bosses, champions, or to break combatants' shields automatically reloads stowed weapons. Served cold picking up a stasis shard grants you class ability energy. Picking up a void breach grants you melee energy. Overload breach loaded grenade launcher damaging a combatant with primary or special ammo grenade launchers disrupts combatants, stunning them, delaying ability energy regeneration and lowering combatant damage output. Strong against overload champions. Additionally, primary and special ammo grenade launchers are always overcharged when that modifier is active. Rapid impacts dealing damage with a grenade launcher temporarily increases the reload speed of grenade launchers. Trace evidence rapid precision hits or rapid final blows on targets affected by jolt or blind will generate ionic traces. Boost. Picking up an ionic trace grants an armor charge. Retinal burn rapid arc weapon precision hits consume an armor charge to blind the target. Boost. Blinding a target this way instead emits a blinding burst. Kinetic impacts sustain damage with a power grenade launcher causes the combatant to emit a shockwave that damages nearby combatants. This shockwave can stun unstoppable champions.
Alright, so I'm going to pop in here every once in a while because I don't want this video to be too long and give my thoughts on some stuff. Like the anti-barrier scout rifle, it might be pretty good. Scout rifles are a little bit underused. I think the overload SMG is going to be really good. Unstoppable pulse rifle is going to be really good. Now, anti-barrier shotgun, you might have some people try to use it. Definitely if you have conditional finality, you're definitely probably going to use this. If you don't have that shotgun, it's, I would say, by far the best shotgun in PvE. It has so much utility. So it can already stun barrier and overload champions. Now you can do, you know, anti-barrier. So that shotgun is going to be really good. So we're just going to see that how that plays out. Overload breach loading grenade launcher. It's probably going to get some use. You know, especially with our new exotic grenade launcher. I think it's probably going to get some use to it. And a lot of the artifact mods and stuff are kind of, it really benefits stasis and some void in there. So stasis and void is going to probably really strong this episode, which I don't mind. I really do like stasis, but you know, prismatic is really good too. So yeah, you're definitely going to see a lot of stasis builds out there.
Exotic armor tuning for Revenant. We have a lot to cover in this TWID, so let's jump right into the exotic armor changes for Revenant. Hunter. Lucky Pants. Lucky Pants has long been one of the more complicated exotic armor pieces, and the limitations were necessary because of the maximum strength of its perk. Unfortunately, the high-end strength of Lucky Pants was causing constraints in terms of other PvE balancing, so we have decided to kill 2 hive moths with one shot and reduce the complexity while bringing down the maximum potency. To offset this, we have also added some new benefits to the exotic which will be especially nice for our movement-focused hand cannon users who enjoy ST0 MPE5 but wish they also improved airborne effectiveness and handling. Now provides movement bonuses including increased slide distance and sprint speed when a hand cannon is equipped. Airborne effectiveness bonus is active whenever a hand cannon is equipped, not just when the illegally modded holster buff is active. No longer requires the hand cannon to be matched to the super damage type or kinetic to receive the PvE damage buff. Out of luck cooldown will only trigger if you reach 7 stacks of the PvE damage buff before swapping off the weapon or time expires. Maximum damage has been decreased from 600% to 450%. Yelnahamkara Spine. We wanted to take another swing at these to better preserve their previous PvE gameplay while keeping a handle on their effectiveness in PvP. Once again provides Trip Mine Grenade energy on ability hits instead of final blows. Provides plus 33% grenade energy in PvE and plus 8% in PvP. Blight Ranger. Blight Ranger is rooted in boosting Arc Staff's reflection, but it has primarily seen use for some niche tactics that leverage its out-of-band orb of power generation. To make it more viable in the broader game without deviating from its fantasy, we've replaced that behavior with elements from Rage's Harness. Added the ability to cancel your Arc Staff super while equipped, damaging and blinding nearby enemies and granting a tier 4 arc weapon damage boost. Damage dealt by this effect scales based on the number of projectiles reflected prior to canceling. No longer creates orbs of power when reflecting projectiles with Arc Staff. Reflecting projectiles now instead directly refunds super energy, extending the duration of your super. Rage's Harness. With almost all of its old behavior moved to Blight Ranger, we've rebuilt Rage's Harness based on its lore tab to differentiate it from other Arc Staff exotics. It now enhances the Arc Super Gathering Storm, calling down lightning around the user when it is activated, as well as adding a neutral game source of super energy. Fully reworked behavior of its exotic trait, Mobius Conduit, inspired by its lore tab. Activating Gathering Storm calls down lightning on all nearby targets, jolting them while also amplifying allies. Defeating arc debuffed targets grants a small amount of Gathering Storm energy. Relativism. Prismatic hunters have access to lots of stacking melee damage bonuses, which all compound with each other, leading to some out-of-band melee damage. Spirit of Syntheseps already provides a lower bonus if you also have Combination Blow active. In Revenant it will provide that same lower bonus when the Stylish Executioner buff is active. Spirit of the Syntheseps. Reduce the melee damage bonus provided when both Bionic Enhancements and Stylish Executioner are active by 50%. Titan. Icefall Mantle. Icefall Mantle's core fantasy is all about becoming an invulnerable, icy tank. We have reworked it to focus on that fantasy by making it all about providing and improving frost armor, instead of providing stasis weapon damage. You now gain a stack of frost armor for rapid stasis final blows. Each time you gain a stack of frost armor from any source, you will heal for a small amount. The unique class ability granted by Icefall Mantle now provides maximum stacks of frost armor, instead of its custom overshield. You will also immediately heal for each stack that gets added. It no longer prevents sprinting or jump abilities, and it now works when Thruster is equipped. Class ability energy now begins to recharge immediately after using Icefall Mantle's class ability. The burst of stasis energy from the class ability now freezes combatants and slows players. No longer provides bonus stasis weapon damage. Now requires a stasis super to be equipped to benefit from its exotic effects. Cadmus Ridge Lance Cap. We feel this exotic has a fun gameplay loop that was a bit too restricted, so we are relaxing some of its requirements. Remove the stasis weapon requirement. Now any final blows or rapid precision hits while behind a rally barricade, and with a stasis super equipped, will create a diamond lance near you. Directly hitting any powerful combatant with a diamond lance will now create 3 stasis crystals. Previously only bosses and vehicles would create additional crystals. Ursa Furiosa and Spirit of the Bear. Now that Unbreakable has been live for a bit, we feel these exotics could provide additional super energy for using it in PvE. However, the gains provided in PvP were leading to players getting access to their super more quickly than we would like. Increased maximum super energy gain for Unbreakable in PvE from 15% to 20%. Fixed an issue where you were gaining more super energy from Unbreakable in PvP than intended. Now provides a maximum of 10%. Cuirass of the Falling Star. We would like Cuirass to feel less required to make Thunder Crash viable, but to also improve it to be more valuable across the whole of an activity. We are reducing its Thunder Crash damage multiplier, but when this is combined with the buff to base Thunder Crash damage, the overall damage will remain the same. We are also adding the ability for it to help generate super energy for Thunder Crash, as well as transitioning the exotic to provide damage resistance instead of an overshield to bring it better in line with the Arc subclass. Melee final blows while amplified now grants super energy. Reduce the damage bonus from Cuirass to Thunder Crash from 2x to 1.55x. This keeps the overall damage similar to what it was previously. Replace the overshield after impact with damage resistance, 50% in PvE and 10% in PvP. Peacekeepers. While Peacekeepers has been a presence in Crucible for some time, it never really felt like it had a real place in PvE content. We have given it characteristics that resemble Lucky Pants, but for SMGs, with a PvE damage bonus that escalates as you deal more damage. We've heard rumors it pairs nicely with a couple of the exotic weapon buffs below. Dealing damage to combatants with an SMG increases SMG damage for a short time. Maximum of 20 stacks, 100% bonus damage. Lasts for once, each hit adds a stack and refreshes the timer. Mask of the Quiet One. We wanted to lean into the vampiric nature of this exotic by allowing it to grant access to the potent Devour status effect, in addition to its previous effects. Rapid final blows and final blows while at critical health will now grant Devour. This effect requires a Void Super to be equipped. Stoicism. We felt that limiting Spirit of the Horn, Alpha Lupi, and Hoarfrost's effects to only work with barricades didn't align with the goals of Prismatic as a way to break past the limits. So we are updating them to also work with Titan's thruster ability. Spirit of the Horn. Activating thruster leaves a ball of solar energy behind, exploding and applying scorch to enemies caught in the blast. Spirit of Alpha Lupi. Activating thruster heals you and nearby allies. Spirit of Hoarfrost. Activating thruster spawns a pair of stasis crystals. Warlock. Ballador's Wrathweavers. We are further enhancing this exotic's support capabilities while tweaking it to allow the bonus super shatter damage to be more useful in a raid environment. Adjusted the Hearts of Ice perk to increase the shatter damage of targets frozen by Shadebinder super projectiles by 100%, regardless of who breaks them out. Added. Granting frost armor to your allies with Frost Pulse or Winter's Wrath grants you super energy. Ranges in potency based on how many allies it is granted to. Skull of Dire Hamkara. To help you sling more Nova Bombs, we are giving a neutral game benefit to Skull of Dire Hamkara that feels fitting for the Void Walker playstyle. Added. Weapon defeats while Devour is active grants super energy. Ranges from 1% to 4.5% depending on target type defeated. Sanguine Alchemy. Warlocks have some of the lowest exotic armor variety in PvP, and for a while it has felt like they were missing a target marking exotic in the same realm as Knucklehead Radar or One-Eyed Mask. What better candidate to fulfill that role than the one that already used to do it, Sanguine Alchemy. We wanted to be careful and make sure that the target marking didn't feel unfair to fight in Crucible like it did in its original iteration. And we also wanted to make sure it was in line with the soon-to-be upcoming post-nerf state of Knucklehead Radar. So, to activate target marking you must damage a target from within a rift, and the mark will fall off after 5 seconds compared to the just look at them, and get 7s of marking from current KR. Now marks targets you damage while standing in a rift. You deal 10% extra damage from any source against marked targets. Now provides Surge X4 to weapons that match your super damage. Verity's Brow and Spirit of Verity. We are front-loading more of the bonus grenade damage for this exotic to increase its potency even if you aren't able to build to full stacks. The first stack of Death Throws now provides plus 40% grenade damage in PvE, up from plus 20%. Each additional stack now provides plus 15% grenade damage, up to a max of plus 100% at 5 stacks. PvP bonus damage is unchanged. Cenotaph Mask. We heard your feedback that hiding the target marker from the player wearing Cenotaph was confusing, and so we are reverting that change. Damaging a vehicle, boss, or champion with a trace rifle will once again visually mark the target for the player using Cenotaph. Osmiomancy Gloves. Osmiomancy Gloves can feel frustrating to play against in PvP, as they can allow cold snap seekers to catch players in ways that feel unfair. We wanted to address that without adjusting the bonus grenade energy they provide to keep their PvE viability intact. Reduce the increased seeker distance and speed by 50%. Speaker's Sight. We pretty rapidly pulled the parachute on Speaker's Sight's orb generation in Crucible as it made for some less favorable play patterns. After some iteration and internal playtesting, we think we've landed in a spot where we can bring back the orb generation in Crucible without encouraging self-damage and stalling at the start of a match. 6 instances of healing a damaged ally in Crucible will spawn an orb of power. Super damage exotic tuning. With Revenant we are taking a pass at balancing the potential damage output provided to one shot super abilities by the exotic armor pieces that enhance them. Our goal is to better standardize damage across the various options while ensuring that supers that are more challenging to use or require the player to put themselves in a disadvantaged position are more potent. Here is the list of exotic and super combinations we are looking to dial in, ranked by how much damage they will put out after this update, with the highest damage at the top. We've noted how much each super plus exotic's damage will be changing as well. Cuirass of the Falling Star plus Thunder Crash unchanged. Pyrogale Gauntlets plus Burning Maul plus 10%. Spirit of the Star Eater plus Nova Bomb 12%. Spirit of the Star Eater plus Twilight Arsenal 26%. Spirit of the Star Eater plus Needle Storm unchanged. Spirit of the Star Eater plus Storm's Edge unchanged. Celestial Nighthawk plus Golden Gun 5%, versus bosses only. We feel this order reflects the advantages and disadvantages inherent in each super, with those that are quicker and easier to use outputting less damage than those that ask more of their user. The range of damage is such that in Revenant, Celestial Nighthawk Golden Gun will still deal around 70% of the damage of a Cuirass Thunder Crash. So, while these changes may look scary, they actually are going to bring these supers closer together in damage, allowing for more options to be competitive and viable in our most challenging content. Needle Storm and Gathering Storm were already aligned with these goals and are not receiving any adjustments. The rest received the following changes. Cuirass of the Falling Star. As noted above, reduced the damage bonus from Cuirass to Thunder Crash from 2x to 1.55x. However, when paired with the increased Thunder Crash base damage, this nets out as the same overall damage compared to live. Pyrogale Gauntlets. Increased Cyclone's damage by 10%. Spirit of the Star Eater. Reduced the benefit granted to Nova Bomb from 70% to 50%. Reduced the benefit granted to Thunder Crash from 70% to 50%. When paired with the increased Thunder Crash base damage, this nets out as a 15% increase to damage compared with live. Reduce the benefit granted Twilight Arsenal from 70% to 25%. Celestial Nighthawk. Reduce damage versus bosses by 5%.
Alright, so Lucky Pants is getting a slight rework, and it's kind of getting a nerf in PvE. So we'll see how that works out. You know, a lot of people were using Lucky Pants to solo content and stuff, but you know, it's going to 600 to 450. So we just have to see that play out. But I do like the other changes to it, especially being a PvP player myself. So that's amazing. The young Arkar Spine is they're kind of changing it back to how it used to be, because they nerfed it a while back. Now they're just kind of rework, like taking it back how it used to be, basically. So I don't know why they even did the change in the first place. Yeah, Blight Watcher got some change, or Blight Ranger got some change. So I never really played with that helmet that much. Probably put it on like 1 or 2 times since it came out. So let me know what you think about that. You know, then some of these exotics I really don't play with, and I don't play Titan that much or Warlock that much. I do have those characters, just don't pick them up that much. So let me know in the comments what you think of all these exotic changes and stuff. All right, so I'm not going to keep you. Let's get into the rest of it.
Weapon tuning and new mods for Revenant. Weapon archetypes. We wanted to encourage more accurate gunplay in PvE without making content feel like a slog, so we have made a small redistribution of the damage dealt by most primary weapons. In practice, this means slightly increasing the critical hit damage while reducing the body shot damage by a corresponding amount. Every subfamily has been tuned by hand, but they all generally fall within the 5% to 7% range, as noted below. Auto rifles, scout rifles, pulse rifles, submachine guns, sidearms, hand cannons. Rebalanced how PvE damage is dealt to slightly prioritize critical hits. Increased critical hit damage by between 5% to 7% depending on frame. Decreased body shot damage by between 5% to 7% depending on frame. Heavy burst pulse rifles have been a tale of two worlds, incredibly strong in PvE, and unfortunately not up to par in PvP. We wanted to bring them more in line for both sandboxes, so we have increased their RPM by approximately 20, while reducing their PvE damage to slightly more than offset the faster rate of fire. This ends up granting them a faster time to kill in PvP, while reducing their DPS by approximately 10% in PvE. Pulse rifles. Heavy burst includes Graviton Lance and Revision Zero's heavy burst. Increased RPM from 300 to 324. Decreased damage in PvE by 18% for legendary weapons in this subfamily. Graviton Lance and Revision Zero heavy burst mode reduced by 8%. Sniper rifles have felt out of place in PvE content for quite some time, without any defined role if they are not top tier for DPS. We want to change that and further reward using snipers against more than just bosses, so we have greatly increased their non-boss damage and greatly reduced their flinch against combatants. In Crucible, while it is a positive that players feel they can challenge snipers and not worry about being shot through flinch, the amount of camera movement the flinch imparts is unnecessarily jarring, so we are going to begin walking that back until we find an acceptable middle ground. Sniper rifles. Reduced flinch against combatants by 50%. Reduced camera roll against players by 10%. Increased damage against minors 60%. Majors 75%. Mini-bosses 35%. Champions 25%. Glaives are going to get a more substantial overhaul in episode Heresy. But for now we wanted to correct a long lingering issue where previews of the magazine's size could be incorrect depending on your perks. Glaive. Corrected an issue where perks that change the magazine's size could sometimes display incorrect preview values. Shotguns have struggled to find their identity in PvE in a world where fusions and rocket sidearms are strong and less risky to use. So we have taken the step of greatly increasing their range in PvE only, to allow players to utilize them at slightly safer distances in high-end content. Shotguns. Minimum damage after falloff has been increased from 0% to 40% for damage versus AI only. Rocket-assisted sidearms are the kings of the mountain in PvE right now, and in large part that stems from their ability to be effectively used as a primary weapon. We'll be taking a larger look at their dominance in Heresy, but for now we will reduce their ammo reserves by 25% to make them not quite as freely usable without building into special ammo. Rocket-assisted sidearms. Reduce reserve ammo by 25%. Trace rifles can be strong in the right hands in Crucible, but for most players they are too ammo hungry to get good use out of them. Trace rifles. Increase base, spawn and crate PvP ammo from 25 to 29. Right now, adaptive machine guns are the strongest in both Crucible and PvE, but we feel high impacts have some room to grow, so we have increased their critical hit damage slightly. Machine guns. High impact. Increased critical hit damage by 4%. Heavy ammo grenade launchers have turned into something of a fire in the general direction and get kills weapon that also benefits from having a substantial amount of ammo in both sandboxes. We want to push them slightly more in the direction of accurate fire on stronger targets and reward direct impacts. In addition, rapid fires have lingered on the low end for a while, so we are directly buffing their damage to be more competitive. Heavy ammo grenade launchers. General. Decreased damage from the detonation by 5% against combatants. Increased projectile impact damage correspondingly, globally. In PvE, total damage is the same, just split differently between detonation and impact. In PvP, heavy GLs now deal approximately 7% and 26% more impact damage, depending on the blast radius stat. Rapid fires. Increased rapid fire frame impact and detonation damage by 7%. PvP weapon micro-tuning. The global weapon tuning that we made to Crucible in our 7.3.5 update was done in the form of a perk that was applied to all players the moment they loaded into a Crucible game. While this gave us freedom to iterate far more rapidly than normal, it came at the cost of us not having nearly as much granularity as we normally would in terms of balancing weapon subfamilies. In Revenant, we have undertaken the task of moving all of that tuning out of the weapons and into the base PvP damage values, which means almost every primary weapon in the game has had its damage changed by a small fraction of a percent. Most weapons had their damage changed by less than 0.1 per bullet. Where possible, we erred on the side of a damage increase, and the exact changes will be in the 8.1.0 patch notes. But we have collected some highlights below where we changed weapons by larger amounts to alter their behavior in the Crucible. Nerfs. Adaptive hand cannons. Base damage from 44.7 to 44.5. Critical hit damage from 80.3 to 80.1. Slightly reduces 3-tap range once damage fall-off has begun, 1m. Adaptive auto rifles. Critical hit damage from 26.5 to 26.25. Reduces forgiveness against high resilience tiers. High impact pulse rifles. Critical hit damage from 40.1 to 39.6. Lowers the resiliency threshold to 4.6C instead of 5C1B to 5. Buffs. Adaptive submachine guns. Base damage from 10.9 to 11.5. Decreases body shot time to kill. Precision's auto rifles. Base damage from 19 to 19.4. Critical hit damage from 33.6 to 33.95. Reduces the nerf they received in Destiny 2 into the light by 50%. High impact auto rifles. Base damage from 22 to 23. Critical hit damage from 40.1 to 41.4. Slightly increases forgiveness and range after damage fall-off. Precision hand cannons. Base damage from 40.4 to 45.3. Critical hit damage from 70.25 to 70.2. Decreases body shot time to kill. Heavy burst hand cannons. Base damage from 23.8 to 24. Critical hit damage from 49.6 to 52.8. Slightly increases forgiveness and range after damage fall-off. Allows better interaction with damage boosts. Heavy burst pulse rifles. Critical hit damage from 41.95 to 42.55. RPM increased to 320. Decreases optimal time to kill from 0.87s to 0.80s. Aggressive scout rifles. Critical hit damage from 91.1 to 91.8. Allows better interaction with damage boosts. Exotic weapons. For our Revenant exotic weapons balance pass, we focused on weapon types and elements that would be featured in the artifact as well as those that had been in need of some love for a while. Choir of One shipped just a little bit hot in PvE, both in terms of how much ammo it could carry in reserves and how much damage it was dealing at point blank range. On the other hand, in PvP, players quickly realized they had the opposite problem, with not nearly enough ammo and insufficient damage against players when fired from the hip. Reduced base reserves from 250 to 200. Reduced max reserves from 384 to 300. Reduced impact damage of the point-blank projectile by 50%. Increased hip fire projectile damage against players by 10%. Now starts with 7 ammo in Crucible and gains 7 from crates and ammo bricks. Huckleberry has been overshadowed by many more recent exotics, so we wanted to give it something a little more exciting. Huckleberry now fully reloads on kills, replaced catalysts with kinetic tremors. Taralba can be a beast in the right situation, but can struggle in higher end content. We took a note from Riskrunner to try to help solve that. Taralba, when Ravenous Beast is active, gain damage resistance against incoming solar damage. 50% versus combatants, 15% versus players. Symmetry still can have a hard time getting going in high pressure situations, so we added a secondary trigger of kills to help keep its perk rolling. Symmetry now gains a stack of dynamic charge on kills in addition to precision hits. Duality has been popular in PvP for its versatility for a long while but has not been able to compete against similar options in PvE. We've made it a bit easier to activate this perk and keep going alongside the above global shotgun changes. Duality on Blackwing stacks for max effect reduced from 5 to 3. Extended duration of buff from 7s to 10s. Bad Juju has a hard time getting its kill streak going in PvE, especially in higher end content. We've made some changes to help it reach the higher stacks of String of Curses a bit easier. Bad Juju increased lifetime of String of Curses from 3.5s base to 5.5s base, 7.5s with the Catalyst. Increased magazine size from 27 to 36. The weapon also appears to have become more haunted than it used to be. X-Dirus is fairly hard to use and more ammo hungry compared to similar options, without a significant enough payout. We've made some adjustments to make this easier to use and also allowed the weapon to scale a bit better into higher end content. X-Dirus. Increased direct hit damage versus combatants by 33%. Adjusted recoil and projectile to have a much flatter trajectory by doing the following. Reduced camera recoil from firing by 50%. Increased projectile velocity. Reduced projectile gravity. Plus 5 ammo in reserves. Now spawns a moth on 2 direct hits. Reduced moth cooldown from 4s to 3s shared with the kill trigger. Fighting Lion still has a dedicated fanbase but has been overshadowed by more recent additions to the sandbox. We added something to help it fit into some void-centric builds. Fighting Lion now spawns a volatile burst on direct hits. Prospector's exotic perk has long been something largely impractical to most activities. We've made some significant changes to make the weapon more viable, while still remaining true to its core fantasy. Prospector now spawns 3 powerful cluster bombs on detonation, dealing substantially more damage per shot over a much larger area than previously. Remove sticky grenade, flame grenade, and remote detonation function. Mag size reduced to 6. Bonus ammo reserves on the Catalyst changed to plus 50 reload speed. Chaperone is another shotgun with a long and storied history in PvP. These changes, in addition to the above global shotgun changes, open up new possibilities for this exotic in PvE activities. Chaperone added the ability to trigger Roadborne on 2 rapid precision hits. Precision hits with Roadborne active also extended by 3 seconds. Plus 20 stability, plus 25% reload speed with Roadborne active. Increased base ammo reserves. Lumina has been overshadowed a bit by support auto rifles since their release, so we did a pass over it to let the weapon inherit some of the new things we made for those auto rifles. Lumina updated hip-fire projectiles to behave more closely to support auto rifle healing shots. Weapon perks. In Revenant, we have corrected an issue where the Sever debuff was not appropriately reducing outgoing damage from players. Slice now works correctly in Crucible. Managing the invisible cooldown on this perk in comparison to Slide Shot has been a long-standing annoyance, so we have fixed that. Slideways can now be refreshed if you slide again following the completion of the initial slide. Widen the trigger on Ala Mag so it provides value more often. Ala Mag now increases reload speed when the magazine is near empty. These 2 auto-loading perks have long been too high value for their effort in comparison to similar options, so we are making them take a bit longer to trigger their effects. With that in mind, we are adding more perk options that are viable in damage rotations that require a bit more effort from the player. Auto-loading holster. Increased time to reload by 1 second for both base and enhanced. Reconstruction. Increased time to start reloading by 2 seconds for both base and enhanced. The return of this perk was not as exciting as we wanted it to be, so we are giving it a bit more love. Master of Arms can now stack up to X2. X1 grants 15% damage for 7s, X2 grants 25% damage for 4s and drops back to X1 when the timer expires. The trigger for this perk was unnecessarily difficult for its output. Dawning Origin. Remove the time limit between kills, now requires kills in a life instead of in rapid succession. The Iron Banner perks have long been divisive on their use due to their stat downsides, so we are reducing the downsides. Iron Reach, Iron Gaze, Iron Grip. Reduce the downside stat penalties from -30 to -20 at base, and -25 to -15 for the enhanced. Weapon mods. The landscape of weapon mods has been a bit stale for quite some time, so we are adding a number of new weapon mods to add a bit more variety. This set of mods is testing the waters for potentially adding more mods in future releases. Added several new weapon mods. These can be equipped on enhanced or crafted weapons. Here's the list broken down by category. Combo stat mod bundles 2 stats, +6/+6. Ballistics, range/stability. Tactical, reload/handling. Aerodynamics, blast radius/projectile speed. Tension, draw time/accuracy. Edge, charge rate/guard resistance. Anti-flinch, 15% flinch reduction. Ammo finder enhancement. Special finder enhancement, progresses roughly 10% faster per kill with this weapon. Heavy finder enhancement, progresses roughly 10% faster per kill with this weapon. Optics mod, allows customization of weapon zoom. Marksman optics, sniper rifle, linear fusion rifle, scout rifle, bow, machine gun, trace rifle, rocket launcher. Marksman optics, high +2 zoom. Marksman optics, low -2 zoom. CQC optics, hand cannon, pulse rifle, auto rifle, submachine gun, sidearm, fusion rifle, breech grenade launcher, drum grenade launcher. CQC optics, high +1 zoom. CQC optics, low -1 zoom. Synergy, escalating chance to spawn a subclass bauble matching this weapon's damage type. Kinetic weapons spawn an orb of power instead. Stun loader, partially refills this weapon's magazine on stunning a champion.
So, the weapon changes. Auto rifles, scout rifles, pulse rifles, submachine guns, sidearms, and hand cannons are getting a slight buff to their, critical damage, and getting a slight nerf to their body shot damage. Which, well, I guess you gotta get better with your aim. Me too. And heavy burst pulse rifles are getting a slightly nerf in PvE and a slight buff in PvP, which I do agree with. Like, I haven't played with all the heavy burst rifles, like the new one. I got the trials one, and I got the seasonal one. I never got the raid one, but they really didn't feel too good in PvP, so I understand that. And I didn't play with them too much in PvE. So if you like those, sorry, it's getting a slight nerf in PvE. But if you thought they kind of were underperforming in PvP and you like them, well, there you go. Snipers are getting a buff in PvE. So they'll do slightly more damage to minors, majors, mini bosses, and champions, which is awesome. I don't really play with snipers that much in PvE, so I might actually pick them up now and see how they perform when the new episode comes out. Then we have other changes to glaives, shotguns, and everything. You've seen them. Let me know what you think about all the other changes to the weapons in the comments. I would like to hear what your thought is about all this. Some of the exotics are getting reworks. Quarter one, we already knew that was gonna get basically a slight nerf. It was really hot in PvE. It's a really good gun. If you haven't got that gun yet and the catalyst for it, man, it was really hot. So I understand it. Do I like it? No, not at all. I do not like it. Huckleberry's getting a slight rework. It's gonna reload the gun on kills. The catalyst is getting replaced with kinetic trimmers, which I actually really do like kinetic trimmers in PvE. Teraba is getting a rework. Yeah, they quite a few weapon exotics are getting reworked and stuff. And yeah.
An update on seasonal weapon crafting. In our Developer Insight Core Game Rewards article, we briefly discussed the future of weapon crafting. While those changes are months away and we are not ready to share them in detail yet, we can comment on the new direction we are moving towards with Revenant. As we looked back at Destiny 2, Into the Light, we believe that part of its success was the chase for brave arsenal weapons, with the attunement system helping to focus that pursuit. We want to move more towards that experience, so starting in Revenant, the seasonal weapons will not be craftable. Perks can still be enhanced using extra materials, and there will be updates to unlock as you play the episode to target specific weapons and even get extra perks per columns. We believe the activities in episodes work better when built around the gear chase, rewarding you with more than other activities and unlocking improvements like vendor focusing to help you get your desired roles, or even the option to get more perks in a given column. Crafting will remain a way for players to get that role they desire, and it's not going away, as you can see below, but for some time the value of individual weapon drops in that god role pursuit has been replaced, if not nullified, by whether or not they dropped with deep sight activated. We hope this change will revitalize the passion to hunt down new weapons. Reprised Garden of Salvation weapons. While seasonal weapons return more towards a focus on the chase, we still want to reward invested players with great weapons that can be crafted. That's why we are reprising Garden of Salvation weapons with new perks, and a new element even in the case of a certain hand cannon. We believe that the friction nature of the rotator and the revamped content are more closely aligned with our goals for weapon crafting. So, get ready to jump back into the raid, and don't forget to visit Hawthorne at the tower, as she will offer a quest that grants a D-site version of a weapon every week. Here's a preview of the returning weapons. We have highlighted some very unique perk combos we think you might find intriguing, to say the least. Reckless Oracle Void Rapid Auto Rifle. Column 3, Destabilizing Rounds. Column 4, Paracausal Affinity. Accrued Redemption Kinetic Precision Compound Bow. Column 3, Offhand Strike. Column 4, Archer's Gambit. Zealot's Reward Void Rapid Fire Fusion Rifle. Column 3, Destabilizing Rounds. Column 4, Reservoir Bursts. Ancient Gospel Void Adaptive Hand Cannon. Column 3, Rampage. Column 4, Kill Clip. Sacred Provenance Kinetic Aggressive Pulse Rifle. Column 3, Demolitionist. Column 4, Kinetic Tremors. Prophet of Doom, Arc Precision Shotgun. Column 3, Threat Remover. Column 4, Voltshot. Omniscient Isolar Rapid Fire Sniper Rifle. Column 3, Fourth Time's the Charm. Column 4, Precision Instrument.
Alright, so they're updating the Garden of Salvation weapons, so you can actually craft them now, which is awesome. You know, I do like the crafting system. I don't like it for like everything, because I do want to have that grind for weapons, and you know, that just farming and getting the random perks, you know, gives me something to do in the game. But you know, for like raid weapons, I understand like it takes a lot of the replayability away from it, because you know, after you get the weapon crafted and stuff, or all the weapons crafted, you really don't want to play the raid anymore. It's like so I don't think every raid should have like crafting in it, like not at all. Like, but a few raids in here, and you know, a few other activities, that's fine. Not every activity needs the weapons craftable. Like, that's why I'm so happy like this episode weapons, they're not craftable. I like that a lot. Okay. But Garden of Observation, you can craft weapons, which is amazing.
And even more weapons. Let's keep this going. You already had a nice preview of what weapons are coming to Trials of Osiris, so it feels wrong not to share some more details of what other activities are getting. We can share some names, and even put some emphasis on interesting facts about them, but you will have to discover the rest by yourselves. Pursuit. Fair Judgment, Stasis Precision Auto Rifle. Crucible. Anonymous Automark Lightweight Sidearm. Competitive. Deadlock Stasis Precision Framed Shotgun. Vanguard Ops. Wicked Sister, Strand Adaptive Grenade Launcher. Nightfall. Rake Angle Stasis Aggressive Glaive. Plug 1.1 Arc Precision Fusion Rifle. Gambit. Bygones, Kinetic Adaptive Pulse Rifle. There are even more weapons coming in this episode once each new act launches. Starting October 11th, you'll also have the new dungeon weapons to try. And let's not forget about the 4 weapons from Season of Splicer that are getting reprised. Let us know what your favorite roles are when you get them. New Iron Banner armor and weapons inbound. You may have noticed a set of weapons missing in the previous section. Worry not. Gather around the fire, wolves old and young. Lord Saladin has some news to share with you all. Reminder that he also goes by Valor's Forge of the Cabal Empire now, but we've known him for so long he allows us to use the old title. To honor the old traditions, his Iron Banner will be back at the tower for 2 consecutive weeks starting November 5th. And to reward your might and to push you to hone your skills further, he's brought new armor and weapons. Behold, the new Iron Intent armor sets in all its glory. Now feast your eyes with the new weapons. We are pretty sure they will have you very eager to go back into the fray. The first weapon is the first ever of its kind, while the second is an old friend revitalized with a new element. Tenacious Mastery Stasis Rocket Frame Sidearm. Column 3, Air Trigger, Offhand Strike, Deconstruct, Enlightened Action, Impulse Amplifier, Loose Change, Reverberation. Column 4, Adagio, Bait and Switch, Chill Clip, Desperate Measures, Frenzy, One for All, Surrounded. Archon's Thunder, Stasis High Impact Machine Gun. Column 3, Air Trigger, Enlightened Action, Redacted, Dynamic Sway Reduction, Envious Assassin, 4th times the Charm, High Impact Reserves. Column 4, Desperate Measures, Onslaught, Headstone, Killing Tally, Tap the Trigger, Target Lock, Rewind Rounds.
So Iron Banner is getting new weapons and new armor set, which I really like the armor set for all the classes. So I'm probably gonna try to get that set and try to make them like ornaments or whatever, because I actually really do like these new sets. So happy that Iron Banner is getting new stuff. Now, I'm not really a big fan of Iron Banner, especially as a solo player. It can be miserable sometimes, but you know, it's whatever.
The Reinverted Spire. Hey, remember the Inverted Spire? The very cool Nessus strike where you fight through some cannons, a cave, and a battlefield until you reach an enormous drill that went so deep it found trouble? Well, it's back with the Vex Genes. Not that it ever left. It was still possible to play it in-game, but it was one of the original Destiny 2 strikes that were bound for an update. And so, it's coming. There's a new narrative to go with it because this time the Vex are the main enemy present. That means they will have terrible defenses installed and new units deployed. Don't you love wyverns? Spoiling it any further would be rude and ruin the fun, but you have been warned.
Alright, the inverted spire is back. Is back. Awesome. I wish they would have never took the strike out in the first place. They didn't take any of the content out in the first place, but it is what it is. But that's amazing. It's got new changes. Vex is the main enemy in the strike. Love it. don't have much to say about it. So let's go on.
Our first ever Discord quest. Enjoy hanging out with your fire team on Discord? Interested in freshening up your style courtesy of a brand new shader? Then circle round, Guardians, because we've got a brand new Discord quest just for you. Starting on October 8th, if you play Destiny 2 for just 15 minutes while on Discord, you'll earn a code for the Celestial Ties shader to spruce up your fashion. Once you get your hands on the code, head on over to bungie.net/redeem, log into your account, and then redeem your code. From there, head over to the special deliveries terminal between the Crypt Arch and the Gunsmith in the tower. This Discord quest concludes on October 22nd. For full info, head over here on October 8th to Quests, Discord. Otherwise, keep an eye on @Destiny the Game on Twitter for updates as they arrive.
All right, Discord quests. Go ahead and get that done. You know, get in the Discord, play the game, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff. I'm not going to keep here forever. You heard it.
Hurricane Helene support. Last week, Hurricane Helene made landfall in the US as an extremely powerful Category 4 hurricane, devastating communities across Florida's Gulf Coast, the Carolinas, Georgia, and much of the Southeast. Our heart is with all of those who were impacted and are just beginning the road to recovery. Bungie Foundation partner organizations Team Rubicon and Direct Relief have both been on the ground since the immediate aftermath of the storm and are doing tremendous work to help these communities recover. Direct donations right now are critical in meeting the needs of those affected by these storms. Team Rubicon's veteran-led volunteers are working across the Southeast clearing debris, freeing up roads and preparing for a large-scale response across the region. Click here to donate and support this vital work and learn more about volunteer opportunities with Team Rubicon. Direct Relief is coordinating with local health centers and free clinics on medical needs and has made available $74 million in medicine and supplies to health organizations impacted by Hurricane Helene. Learn more about Direct Relief's work and donate or start a fundraising campaign via Tiltify today.
You know, I'll leave link to this TWID down below in the description. You can go to the link, help them out if you can. But yeah, that's really sad.
Player Support Report. Update 8.1.0. Next Monday, maintenance for Update 8.1.0 will begin. Below is a timeline of events. October 8th, 2024, 6:45 a.m. Pacific Time, -7 UTC Destiny 2 is brought offline. October 8th, 2024, 10 a.m. Pacific Time, -7 UTC Destiny 2 will be brought back online. Update 8.1.0 will be playable on all platforms and regions. October 8th, 2024, 12 p.m. Pacific Time, -7 UTC Destiny 2 maintenance is scheduled to complete.
All right, so it wasn't all the TWID, but it was some of it. I'm pretty sure there are other content creators who went through the whole TWID. Go watch their videos. I'll leave the link to the TWID down in the description, and I should have everything down there. I like some of the changes. You know, I'm glad the inverted Spire is back and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a long one, and I'm not going to keep you here too long, so leave this video a like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more videos. And like I always say, have a good day or night whenever you're watching this.